Ma fille m'a offert une tablette toute neuve pour mon 68e anniversaire. Je l'ai apportée chez mon petit-fils. Il est analyste en cybersécurité. Il l'a regardée pendant 5 minutes. Et il est devenu tout pâle. Il a chuchoté, « Papy, on doit appeler la police. » Je ne l'ai pas cru. Mais 11 jours plus tard. My doctor gave me a brand new tablet for my 68th birthday. He brought it to my grandson's house to ask how to use it. Et est a cybersecurity analyst. Et looked at it for 5 minutes. Then his face went white. Grandpa, he said quietly. We need to call the police. Someone installed spyware on this before you even open the box. He didn't believe him. He couldn't. It was a gift from my doctor. Buttons days later, when he discovered what she was really planning, he realized that birthday present was never a present at all. It was a weapon designed to take everything he had, including my freedom. Hello friends, thanks for joining us today at Golden Vengeance. If this story resonates with you, please hit that like button and subscribe to stay connected with more real life tales of betrayal and justice. Drop a comment below telling us where you're watching from. We love hearing from our community across Canada and around the world. Quick note, while some details have been changed to protect privacy, the lesson and warning in this story are very real. Any similarity to actual names or place is purely coincidental. He turned 68 on a Saturday in late October, and the Ontario autumn had already stripped most of the trees bare. He woke up alone in my house in Oakville. Sam had been waking up for the past 4 years since Margaret passed. The coffee maker clicked on at setter and he shuffled to the kitchen in my old University of Toronto sweatshirt, the one Margaret always said made me look like a retired professor, which he was, I suppose. 32 years teaching high school history before he finally hung up the shalk. My phone sat key on the counter. No message. At my age, birthday aren't exactly celebrated anymore. They're just milestone you're grateful to reach. Around noon, the doorbell rang. My daughter Evelyn stood on the porch holding a large gift bag with a bright yellow bow. She was smiling, that careful smile she'd been wearing for the past year, ever since she started dating that man. Happy birthday, Dad. She stepped inside and handed me the bag. He wanted to get you something special this year. He pulled out a sleek tablet, still sealed in a TS box. One of those expensive ones with the big screen. Must have cost her $800 at least. Evelyn, this is too much. You deserve it. She kissed my cheek. Mom always said you needed to get with the times. Now you can video call me, read your books, check your investment, everything in one place. He held the box and felt something crack open in my chest. She remembered. After everything, after Margaret's death, after my retirement, after all the distance that had grown between us, my doctor remembered my birthday. He wasn't in that kitchen anymore. He was standing in our old backyard in Burlington 30 years ago. Evelyn was sweet, running toward me across the grass with a homemade card in her hand. She'd drawn a picture of us together, stick figure holding under a yellow sun. He made this for you, Daddy, she'd said, breathless and grinning. Because you're the best dad in the whole world. Margaret had watched from the deck, one hand on her pregnant belly. Or son Michael Wood arrive 3 months later. Everything was ahead of us then. Everything was possible. The memory dissolved. He was back in my kitchen, 68 years old, holding a tablet he didn't know how to use. Thank you, sweetheart, he said. This means more than you know. Evelyn stayed for lunch. We had a sandwich at the kitchen table, and she asked about my health, my sleep, whether I'd been keeping up with my doctor's appointment, normal question, caring question. But something in her tone felt rehearsed, like she was shaking item off a list. After she left, he spent the afternoon trying to figure out the tablet. Managed to turn it on, at least set up an account. The screen was big enough for my aging eyes, which he appreciated. That night, he plugged it into charge and felt a warmth he hadn't felt in months. My doctor was thinking about me. Maybe we could rebuild what we'd lost. I had no idea they just placed a surveillance device in my home. The following Thursday, I drove to my grandson's apartment in downtown Toronto. Daniel was my son, Michael's boy, 27 years old, sharp attack. He worked in cyber security for one of the big banks. I wanted him to help me set up my email and maybe show me how to use the video calling feature. Daniel made coffee while he explained my confusion with the device. He was patient, the way young people sometimes are with the elderly. That careful kindness that makes you feel both grateful and diminished. Let me take a look, Grandpa. He took the tablet, started tapping and swiping. I'll get everything configured for you. I watched him work, sipping my coffee. The apartment was small but tidy. Daniel had done well for himself. His father, my son Michael, lived out in Vancouver with his wife and 2 kids. We talked on the phone every few weeks, but the distance made things difficult. Daniel's expression changed. He noticed it immediately. The slight tightening around his eyes, the way his thumb stopped moving. Grandpa, where did you get this? Your Aunt Evelyn birthday present. He didn't respond. Just kept staring at the screen, tapping through menu he couldn't follow. Daniel, everything all right? He looked up at me and he saw something he'd never seen before in my grandson's face. Fear. Did Aunt Evelyn set this up for you before she gave it to you? I don't think so. It was sealed in the box. It wasn't. His voice was flat. Someone configured this before you opened it, and they installed monitoring software. Professional grade, the kind we see in corporate espionage case. My coffee went cold in my hand. What are you saying? Daniel set the tablet down carefully like it might explode. I'm saying someone can see everything you do on this. Every website you visit, every password you type, every email you send, they can activate the camera and microphone remotely. They can watch you, Grandpa, listen to you in your own home. The room tilted. He set down my mug before he dropped it. That's not possible. Evelyn gave me this. My doctor Daniel's jaw tightened. He know what I'm looking at. He do this for a living. This software didn't install itself. Maybe it was the manufacturer. Some kind of defect. No issue, he said. This is deliberate. Someone specifically configured this device to monitor you before it was wrapped in that birthday paper. He stared at the tablet on his coffee table. It looked so innocent. Just glass and metal and circuitry. A gift from my doctor. What do I do? Daniel was already reaching for his phone. We called the police. Detective Sarah Chen was in her mid-40s with a nonsense de manner and eyes that had seen too much. She met us at the Toronto Police Service Financial Crime Unit the next morning. Daniel had made copy of everything they found on the table before we came. She examined his documentation carefully, asking technical questions he couldn't follow. Daniel answered each one with the precision of someone who testify in court regularly. Monsieur Morrison, she said finally, turning to me. Your grandson is correct. This device was configured as a surveillance tool before you received it. Whoever did this has access to everything. Your location, your communication, your financial information, if you've accessed any banking site. I hadn't. Thank God for my technological incompetence. What does this mean? I asked. What do I do? Shen leaned back in her chair. First, I need to ask you some questions. Does anyone have a financial motive to monitor you? Do you have significant assets, life insurance, property? I thought about it. My teacher's pension wasn't extravagant, but it was steady. The house in Oakville was worth close to $2 million in today's market. Margaret and I had been good savers. I had investment, RRSPs, a paid off house, and yes, a life insurance policy, $750,000. The beneficiary was supposed to be split between my children, Evelyn and Michael. I'm comfortable, he said carefully. Not wealthy, but comfortable, Shen nodded like she expected this answer. Monsieur Morrison, I'm going to be direct with you. In my experience, when family members install surveillance équipement en elderly relative, it's rarely innocent curiosity. There's usually a large plan in motion. Elderly relative. The word stung. Is that what he was now? An elderly relative to be monitored and managed. What kind of plan? Financial exploitation, guardianship fraud, power of attorney abuse. She listed them matter of factly. Someone want access to your assets and they're rebuilding a case to get it. Daniel puis send my arm. Grandpa, who gave you this tablet? He couldn't say it. Couldn't make my mouth form the word. Shen said them for me. Your doctor, Evelyn Morrison. He drove home in a that afternoon. The tablet sat in a police evidence bag in Detective Shen's office. She'd asked me to way before confronting anyone to let them investigate properly. Act normal, she said. Don't let them know, you know. He parked in my driveway and sat there for a long time, staring at the house Margaret and he had bought 40 years ago. We the rest our children here, celebrated holidays, birthday, graduation. Margaret had planted the rose bush by the front door the year Evelyn was born. My daughter, my firstborn child, the little girl who made me father the cars out of construction paper and dried macaroni, the teenager he coached through heartbreak and helped with homework, the woman who helped my aunt at Margaret's funeral and told me everything would be alright. That woman wanted to survey me, monitor my life for what? He went inside, made dinner he couldn't taste, and went to bed early. He didn't sleep. He just lay there in the dark, staring at the ceiling, listening to the house creak and settle around me. The call from Detective Shen came 3 days later on a Tuesday morning. Monsieur Morrison, are you sitting down? He lowered himself into the kitchen chair. I am now. We've been investigating your doctor's recent activity, financial record, communication, known associate. She paused. Are you aware that Evelyn has been in a relationship with a man named Victor Reynolds? The name was familiar. Evelyn had mentioned him once or twice casually. The way you mention a new coworker or neighbor. She's dating someone. I've never met him. Victor Reynolds has a criminal record in British Columbia. Fraud. LD financial abuse. Et served 18 months in a provincial correctional facility after exploiting a 73-year-old woman in Victoria. Got her to sign over power of attorney, then drained her account. Nearly $200,000. My aunt started shaking. That is not all, Shen continued. We've subpoenaed some document. Monsieur Morrison, did you recently change the beneficiary on your life insurance policy? No, according to Canada Life, the beneficiary was changed 7 months ago. Your son, Michael, was removed entirely. Evelyn is now the sole beneficiary for the full $750,000. The kitchen spun. He gripped the table edge. He never signed anything. We suspected a mush. The signature on file doesn't match your known sample. Someone forged your name. He couldn't speak. Couldn't breathe. There's more. We found evidence that someone has been making inquiry about guardianship proceeding in Ontario, specifically about having you declared mentally incapable of managing your own affairs. Mentally incapable. The word it like a physical blow. On what ground? That is what we need your help to find out. Monsieur Morrison, I know this is difficult, but if we are going to build a case, we need evidence of it. We need to know what they are planning and why. She explained what she wanted me to do. Continue using the tablet normally. Let them think their surveillance was working. Feed them information carefully controlled and see how they responded. You want me to spy on my own doctor? He said, I want you to protect yourself, Shen replied before she takes everything you have. That night, he sat alone in my living room with the tablet in my lap. Detective Shen had returned it to me, modified now so her team could monitor who was monitoring me, a trap within a trap. He opened the device and started talking. Not to anyone in the room, whoever was listening on the other end. Been thinking about the house lately, he said to myself, loud enough for the microphone to catch. Too big for one person. Maybe should think about selling. Downsized to a condo. Get my affairs in order. The word tasted like ash. But he kept going. Doctor says I've been forgetting things. Maybe should look into getting some help. Can't manage everything on my own anymore. Lies. All lies. My memory was sharp ever. My health descend for a man my age. But he was building a character now. The confused old man who needed managing. The vulnerable senior who couldn't handle his own affairs. He was giving them exactly what they wanted to hear. The response came faster than he expected. Evelyn called the next morning, bright and cheerful. Dad, he was just thinking about you. How are you feeling? Oh, you know, getting old. He let my voice wave slightly. Some days are better than others. He worry about you alone in that big house. Have you thought about what we discussed? Maybe looking at some option. We hadn't discussed anything, but he played along. I've been thinking about it. You might be right. Maybe it is time to make some change. That is so good to hear, Dad. Relief in her voice. Excitement poorly concealed. He could come by this weekend, help you look at some things. Financial planning, maybe get everything organized. That would be nice, sweetheart. After she hung up, he sat very still for a long time. Then he called Detective Shen and told her everything. Evelyn arrived on Saturday with a folder full of documents and that some careful smile. She spread papers across my kitchen table while he made tea, playing the role of the forgetful father who needed guidance. I've been doing some research, she said. There are some wonderful retirement communities near here. Full service. They handle everything for you. He looked at the brochure, assisted living facility, memory care units, place where they warehouse the elderly until they stop being inconvenient. And he talked to a lawyer friend, she continued, about setting up a power of attorney, just in case, so someone can help you manage things if you ever need it. Power of attorney, he repeated slowly, if the concept was foreign to me. It's just paperwork, a precaution, she slid a document toward me. You'd still be in control. I'd just be able to help if you needed it. He looked at the form, looked at my doctor's expectant face. This was a woman I'd helped a baby. A woman I'd walked down the aisle. A woman who'd cried in my arms when her mother died. This woman wanted to take my life away one signature at a time. I don't know, Evelyn. This is a lot to think about. Of course, she patted my hand. No pressure. Just think about it. We can talk more next week. After she left, he photographed every document she'd brought, sent them to Detective Shen. Then he went to the basement and did something he should have done weeks ago. He started looking through my own file. The filing cabinet had belonged to Margaret. She'd been the organized one, keeping record of everything, insurance policy, tax returns, property document. After she passed, he couldn't bring himself to sort through it all. He just left everything as it was, a shrine to her orderly mind. Now he went through it systematically, box by box, folder by folder. He found what he was looking for in the back of the bottom drawer. A manila folder that didn't match Margaret's careful labeling system. No label at all actually, just a plain folder stuffed between all utility bill. He opened it on the workbench and my blood went cold. Medical assessment form prefilled with my information but with symptoms he never had. Memory loss, confusion, difficulty managing daily task. The checkbox were marked in pencil if someone was preparing for a doctor's visit that hadn't happened yet. Guardianship petition template. Ontario government form for declaring someone incapable of managing their own affairs. My name was already typed into the spaces. Financial document, printout of my bank account, my investment portfolio, the deed to my house. Someone had been torug. They knew exactly what he was worth. And at the bottom of the stack, a handwritten note. He recognized the handwriting immediately. He'd been reading it on birthday cards and Christmas letters for 43 years. Timeline, the note read. Stage 1, establish pattern of confusion, October, December. Stage 2, get PO assigned, January. Stage 3, move to field guardianship, February. Stage 4, access account. Sell house. Spring. They says we need to move faster. Dades else is good. Window closing. The Victor. The man she was dating. The convicted fraudster. My doctor had written a step-by-step plan to erase me. He wasn't in the basement anymore. He was in her backyard 25 years ago. Evelyn was standing beside me at the barbecue, maybe 18 years old, home from her first year at university. Dad, she said, watching the burger sizzle. I don't know if he can do this. University is hard. Everyone seems smarter than me. I put my arm around her shoulder. Evelyn, you are exactly where you were supposed to be. You worked hard to get there. Don't let anyone make you feel less than you are. She leaned into me. Thanks, Dad. I don't know what I'd do without you. You'll never have to find out. The memory shattered. He was back in the basement holding papers that proved my doctor wanted to destroy me. He gathered everything carefully, photographed each page. Then he called Detective Shen. He found their plan. He said everything, timeline and all. The next 2 weeks were the longest of my life. Detective Shen coordinated with her team, gathering additional evidence, monitoring Evelyn's communication through legal channel, building a case that would hold up in court. He continued playing my role. The confused old man, the vulnerable senior who needed help. Evelyn came by twice more. Each time she pushed a little harder, brooked more documents, asked more questions about my finance, my health, my plan for the future. You seem tired lately, Dad, she said during her second visit. More forgetful than usual. He hadn't been forgetful at all. But he nodded sadly. Maybe you're right. Maybe it is time to let someone else handle things. Her eyes lit up. I've been talking to a lawyer. We could set something up. Take the burden off your shoulder. When? He was thinking next week we could go together. Get everything signed and official. All right, he said. Let's do it. She hugged me on the way out longer than usual. This is for the best, Dad. You'll see. He watched her drive away and felt nothing but cold. That night, he got a message from Detective Shen. They'd intercepted a conversation between Evelyn and Victor. The recording was muffled, but the content was clear. He's going to sign next week, Evelyn's voice said. The power of attorney, everything good. Victor's voice was smooth, professional. Once you have POA, we move to the next phase. Guardianship application, capacity assessment. By spring, you'll have full control. And then we liquidate. The house alone is worth nearly 2 millions. HIS investment another 800,000. Life insurance when the time comes. A pause. Then Evelyn's voice smaller now. Es my father, Victor. Es an old man sitting on a fortune Helen never use. Think about it, Evelyn. Your debt cleared, your business saved, a fresh start. All you have to do is sign some papers. What if I found out? Victor looked. E won't. Es all. E barely knows how to use that tablet. By the time I figure anything out, it'll be too late. The recording ended. I sat in my dark living room listening to my doctor conspire to steal my life. My debt cleared. A fresh start. I hadn't known Evelyn was in financial trouble. Hadn't known her business was struggling. She'd never told me. Would he have helped if she'd asked? Of course. He would have given her anything she needed. He was her father, but she hadn't asked. She decided it was easier to take. Detective Chen called me the following Monday. We are ready, she said. The meeting with the lawyer. We'll be there. He drove to the law office on Wednesday morning, my hand steady on the wheel. Evelyn was waiting in the parking lot, beaming. Ready to get this done, Dad. Ready I'll ever be. We went inside together. The office was on the third floor, a small firm that handled estate planning and family law. Evelyn had chosen it. He wondered how much Victor had paid the lawyer to look the other way. The receptionist led us to a conference room. A man in a grey suit was already waiting. He introduced himself à Robert Crane, Evelyn's legal contact. Monsieur Morrison, he said warmly. So good to finally meet you. Evelyn has told me so much about you. Shall we get started? He spread document across the table. Power of attorney form, banking authorization, healthcare directive, everything someone would need to take complete control of another person's life. If you'll just sign here, Crane said, pointing to a line on the first page and here and initial here. He picked up the pen, looked at the papers, looked at my doctor's expectant face. Before he signed anything, he said quietly, he'd like to understand exactly what I'm agreeing to. Evelyn's smile flickered. It's just standard stuff, Dad. We went over this, did we? He set the pen down because he don't remember discussing how you plan to have me declared mentally incapable or how you changed my life insurance beneficiary without my knowledge or how your boyfriend Victor served time for doing exactly this to another family. The color drained from Evelyn's face. Dad, you don't know what you're talking about. The conference room door opened. Detective Chen walked in, followed by two uniformed officers. Evelyn Morrison, Chen said. You're under arrest for fraud, forgery, and conspiracy to commit the abuse. You have the right to retain and instruct counsel without delay. Evelyn stood up so fast her chair fell backward. This is insane, Dad. Tell them this is a mistake. He looked at my doctor at the panic in her eyes, at the woman she'd become. It's not a mistake, he said. I've heard everything, Evelyn. The phone calls with Victor, your plan for my house, my savings, my insurance. He know about the timeline you wrote. He know about all of it. That's not Victor made me. She started crying. Daddy, please. He was in trouble. He owed money. Victor said this was the only way. He never wanted to hurt you. The officer took her arm. She struggled for a moment, then went limp. Daddy, she said again, the word broken now. Please, I'm your doctor. He thought about the little girl in the backyard, the teenager he'd helped with homework, the woman at Margaret's funeral. My doctor would have asked for help, he said. My doctor would have trusted me. You decided he was worth more a victim than a father. They led her out. He stayed in the conference room alone with the unsigned document and the echo of her crying. They arrested Victor Reynolds that afternoon at his apartment in Mississauga. He tried to run, made it as far as the elevator before officer caught him. Apparently, he'd been packing, preparing to disappear once the power of attorney was signed. The investigation took months. By winter, the full scope of their shame was clear. Victor had been targeting vulnerable seniors for years, using romantic relationship to find accomplice with family connection to wealth. Evelyn wasn't his first partner. She was just his most recent. My doctor owed Victor $230,000. Failed business loans. Gambling debt she'd hidden from everyone. Credit cards maxed out to keep up appearance. Victor had paid off her most pressing creditor, then demanded repayment in accuracy and preferred access to her family's assets. My assets, my life, my freedom. The trial was in April. He didn't attend. He couldn't sit in that courtroom and watch my doctor be judged, even if she deserved it. Victor received 7 years in federal prison. Fraud, conspiracy, exploitation of a vulnerable person. HIS preview record work against him. Evelyn received a suspended sentence. 2 years of probation, full restitution of the money she had taken from my account, a permanent record that would follow her forever. The judge cited her cooperation with investigator and her lack of prior criminal history. He filed a restraining order afterward. No contact, no calls, no letters. He changed my life insurance beneficiary to my son Michael and my grandchildren. Updated my will, changed all my password and account number. Daniel helped me set up new security system, camera at the doors, alert on my financial account, the paranoia precaution of a man who learned to let that trust can be a weapon. My son Michael flew in from Vancouver that summer. We sat on my back deck watching the sunset over the garden Margaret had planted so many years ago. He can't believe Evelyn would do this, he said. He keeps thinking there must be some explanation. There is an explanation, he said. Desperation, debt, a manipulative man who made it seem easy. None of it excuse what she did, do you understand how it happened? Do you miss her? He thought about it for a long time before answering. He miss who she was or who he thought she was. The woman who planned to take my freedom. He don't know her at all. Michael puis sand on my shoulder. We sat there until the star came out. He turned 69 alone. No gift this year. He preferred it that way. The house feels different now, quiet. I've thought about selling, starting fresh somewhere without memory in every room. But Margaret's rose tea bloom every spring. The kitchen still smell like her cooking on Sunday morning if I close my eyes and remember hard enough. Some morning I wake up and forget what happened. For a few seconds, everything is normal. Then I remember and the weight settle back onto my chest. If you've stayed with me this far, I need you to know something. I'm not sharing this story for sympathy. I'm sharing it because it could happen to anyone. LD financial abuse is one of the fastest growing crime in Canada. According to the Canadian Anti-Fraud Center, senior laws hundreds of millions of dollars every year to fraud. Much of it committed by family members. The people we trust most are often the ones who hurt us worst. Here are the warning signs I wish I'd recognized earlier. Pay attention. They might save you. First, watch for unexpected gift that seem too generous. If someone give you an expensive electronic device, ask yourself why. Ask yourself who benefit from you being connected, monitored, accessible. Second, be wary of family members who suddenly show increased interest in your finance. Question about your account, your investment, your insurance, these might come from genuine concern or they might be reconnaissance. Third, notice if someone start questioning your memory or capability. If a relative repeatedly suggests you are confused, forgetful, or incapable, ask yourself whether that is true or whether they are rebuilding a narrative. Fourth, never sign document you don't understand. Power of attorney is a powerful tool. In the right hand, it protects you. In the wrong hand, it destroys you. Fifth, trust your instinct. If something feels wrong, it probably is. The discomfort you feel might be your mind recognizing a threat before your heart is willing to admit it. Finally, know that it's never too late to ask for help. Talk to someone you trust. A doctor, a lawyer, a police officer, a friend. Isolation is the predator's greatest weapon. Connection is your greatest defense. My doctor made her choice. I've made mine. We don't speak anymore. I don't know if we ever will. Some night I still dream about that little girl in the backyard. The one who made me birthday cars out of construction paper. I wake up wishing for a past that doesn't exist anymore. But I'm still here, still standing, still free. That is something. Maybe that is enough. If you're watching this video, wherever you are, learn from my story. Protect yourself. Protect the people you love. And remember that sometimes the greatest threat comes rapid in birthday paper from someone who calls you dad. Stay safe out there. And thank you for listening to All Mans.